myself again. But it's the only...
Good afternoon and welcome to NUFC Matters. It's Sunday afternoon and as always I'm joined by some of the lads from the worldwide squad. Welcome to Chris, to Daz, to Spenny, to Al Walid, to Pete and to Martin. How are you doing, lads?
All good.
Very good.
As sometimes we do, we're going to do a special edition today. We're going to focus on one man. I'm sure we'll get drawn into conversation about other things, but we are going to look at Joelinton. And the question I'm going to ask you today is, has Joelinton turned a corner? What I saw after the Crystal Palace game and the subsequent goal, which I think most of us enjoyed, including Pete. I think really, I've seen on social media, I've seen some journalists change their narrative slightly. People saying that maybe we can get the best out of him now. Maybe he will become that £40 million player that we purchased last season. It's something which, of course, most people know my opinion on. I'm still not convinced by Joelinton. I think we'll have to have a full season and 20 goals from him to even be considered a £20 million striker, never mind a £40 million striker. But listen, anyone can learn, anyone can change, and I've seen lots of people suggest that potentially could even change under a better coach. If it was Rafa Benitez managing Joelinton, would he have done much better? I know Rafa didn't fancy him, but a lot of people saying that the fact that he's getting managed and coached by Steve Bruce could be part of the problem. Anyway, a little bit about Joelinton. You've got to forgive the pronunciation, but Joelinton Cassio Apollinario de Lira is his full name. I think Mirandina's name tripped off the tongue a little bit easier in Francisco Hernandi Lima da Silva, but there we go. 14th of August 1996 was the date that he was born. He was born in Anca in Brazil. He's 6'1". His playing position on Wikipedia is a forward. Of course, his current team is Newcastle United. He has the number 9 shirt. Previous clubs, he started his youth career at Sport Recife, which I presume is a Brazilian club. He had 12 appearances there and he scored 3 goals. He then went to 1899 Hoffenheim, of course, the team that Newcastle United signed him from in 2015. There, 29 appearances and 7 goals. He then went on loan for a couple of years to Rapid Vienna, and that was where he had 60 appearances, scoring 15 goals. And his current record, I haven't checked this with Andre, mind, but is 47 appearances with 3 goals. He has played for the national team, albeit at under 17s level, where he's had 4 appearances and 2 goals. So essentially, we spent £40 million, as we know, on Joelinton. A lot of scratching heads over the £40 million scenario. Some people say that wasn't the fee. That was, essentially wages and fee. But regardless of that, Newcastle United announced it as a £40 million deal. They made a big song and dance about it. I always say that was done as a 2 fingers up to Rafa. They wouldn't give Rafa any money. Rafa was constantly embarrassing Mike Ashley in the press, with the press. There was a battle for power, which only one man was going to win, obviously the owner of the club, and Rafa eventually left. Then obviously the purchases of Joelinton and others were made, and from our perspective, we ended up with a guy who not only got the number 9 shirt at Newcastle, but also had the most expensive player price tag. So that gives you the history of Joelinton for those of you who didn't know anything or a great deal about him. I think the one thing that stands out from those stats is that he's not a prolific goal scorer, yet that was the reason that Newcastle United said they'd bought him. So today's question is to the panel, and we will discuss this with you watching at home as well. Has Joelinton turned a corner at Newcastle? He did, of course, score a goal and set up Callum Wilson's goal in our 2-0 win at Crystal Palace this Friday night. A game which I was, quite happy to call a smash and grab. I watched the game. I did feel that it was an even Stevens game. I don't think either team deserved to win, and I do feel that Crystal Palace could feel a little bit aggrieved that they came out of that game with absolutely nothing. Hence the term smash and grab. Newcastle scored 2 goals in the dying minutes of the game and walked away with all 3 points. So, over to you, Chris. I think I've talked enough. Joelinton, First of all, we'll start with a question that we've asked today. Do you think, after his goal on Friday and his performances this season, that Joelinton has turned a corner?
Well, I want to start with a quote from your favorite Prime Minister of all time, Winston Churchill, who asked, is this the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning? So I think we're definitely at a crossroads here for Joelinton, as I think he might be pronounced back in Brazil. I think it's too early to tell after one match whether he's turned a corner. I mean, we've seen the long straightaway where he didn't really do anything for a year and a half. So I can't say that one match and he's come good. Or I want to see, steady improvements over a number of matches. And so far this year, that hasn't happened. I mean, Steve Bruce has consistently played him most every match, no matter whether he was starting or coming off the bench. And I think one thing we couldn't say for sure is that he should never be played isolated up front. Isolated up front, he's completely lost with his back to the goal. He needs to be played alongside at least one striker. So he's done better with Wilson. I know at Hoffenheim he was up front. As long as he's alongside somebody else, I think he's in a better position. But as long as he's isolated up front, he'll never succeed in the Premier League, and he won't be able to show if he's got anything. So if we play him alongside at least one other striker, maybe there's a player in him yet, but I'm not convinced. I think it's too early to get rid of him because we won't get anything back from him. But some progress, but really too early to tell whether he's really turned the corner. I think it's just maybe a mirage, and he's just the same old bust.
Has his performances been better this year, Chris?
I mean, sort of anything's better than zero, or nil, or whatever you want to say. So people were saying like, okay, maybe he'll be better in his second year, and a lot of people struggle in their first year in the Premier League, and certainly it was a struggle his first year in the Premier League. I think he's marginally better this year, but I don't think it's not night and day. It's like dawn and a little bit of light, but we haven't seen enough of him to say that he's a legitimate Premier League striker, because I just don't think he is. I mean, I think he has some talent, but he's not a frontline striker in the Premier League. That's clear.
Okay, Chris. Cheers. Joe Walker, thanks for becoming a YouTube member, mate. Much appreciated. Daz, has Joelinton turned a corner in your eyes? I see you've got your Joelinton banner up there behind you.
That's not really in support, though, Steve. Has he turned the corner? Short answer, no. When he arrived, we thought we were getting a Brazilian target man, number 9, a striker from Brazil. What could go wrong there? Didn't know that much about him, but what we got was facepalm, and all those shots that go over the bar are near misses, are just not performing. You asked the question to Chris about it, has he performed better this year? In my eyes, yes. Last year he was playing in the number 9 position. He's not a number 9. I think he got blinded by the lights when he arrived here first and took the number 9 charge off Gale, if I remember. And no, they didn't perform in that role. This year he's played in he's played in number 10 and number 7, number 11 kind of position. He seems to be more favors the kind of a wing and kind of cutting in. He has this year. He has been playing better. He's holding up the ball a bit. He looks more determined. But for the price we paid and for what we want from him, no, he's definitely not turned a corner. I want him to really do well. I'd love for him to a goal every couple of games, even like nothing prolific, just but he has been given it his all though this season compared to last season. That's the difference I see in him this season. But it's way too early to say he's turned a corner. After one game and a very lucky goal and an assist. So I'm all behind him, and I think we should. Well, we'll probably have to keep playing him as well because our squad is falling like flies with the COVID rumors and stuff. But let's give him a few more games and see if that corner can be turned.
Yep, Joe Walker says, don't know what it is, but I can't recall another player that I've wanted to succeed. Not really sure why. I firmly believe that no matter what we think of him, he is our number 9 and we have to get behind him. Joe, fair point. As I say, nobody's against him. But we've got to give honest opinions about him as football supporters. And last season, I think he completely let us down. This season, there has been glimpses, and I was honest about him. I said I would give him 10 games. I gave him 10 games as a supporter. I think that's fair. There's been glimpses, but for me, he's still not a Premier League player. Spenny, good afternoon, mate. Has he turned a corner, do you think, Joelinton?
No, I don't think it is. And it's not his fault, I don't think. I think it's down to the coaching staff. Coaching staff's at the training pitch watching him play all the time. Why can't they say where the position he's playing? What position he's good at? Fair enough, he is a second striker. He's not a striker. But why put him as a striker? It's not rocket science, is it? Really? The lad's not his fault. It's cost him 40 million to buy him. It's not his fault. But he's not a number 9 like the start of the season. He should have dropped number 9 with Wilson. Simple as that. Scoring a goal by a miss-hit. You know what I mean? It's not good enough. I've been watching football 40-odd years now. And he's not a footballer. I'm sorry. I hope he is. I want him to be. I think everybody wants him to be. But he's not a footballer.
Okay, mate. Andrew Malloy says 2 fingers up to Rafa. It's ultimately turned into 2 fingers up to Mike Ashley. Raymondo says if Joelinton doesn't get that bit of luck, we would be saying the truth. Nowhere near good enough for the Premier League. And Mark Choke says change of formation helped Joelinton. 4-4-2 with Wilson alongside. I think it was very promising. Something to work on. Awaleed, you watched the game with us on Friday night. Do you think Joelinton is turning a corner? Do you think there is light at the end of the tunnel? And do you think he can, do you think he's improved this season?
I think the next coming games, after this moment we all have, the answer for this question. Nobody, I believe, expect what happened, or expect what anything from Joelinton, especially in the Crystal Palace game. At that time, we didn't have Fraser. St. Maximin was absent suddenly. Almiron was just benched. I think the pressure do a massive role here. I said it before, and I said it now. The pressure do much better for Newcastle. Pressure on Steve Bruce, pressure on the players, pressure even on Joelinton. I didn't. For what happened in those 2 minutes, I didn't see it. It was a coincidence. 2-minute amazing dribble on the right side, as Spinny Mac says that he's not playing in his position, but we noticed the assist and the dribbling we see, and the goal, it was from the right side. Maybe he's more like right middle field, maybe better in. For me, that was playmaking. This is for the good side, but I have to say he must find a solution for his weak shooting. I believe he can do much more. He can do more, make his shots more stronger. I hope the game, it is the beginning, starting for he rediscovered himself, and I'm sure Steve Bruce maybe learned something from what happened. He learned that he misplaced Joelinton in the formation. And again, I said I hope this give Joelinton as well good confidence, and I'm sure it wasn't a coincidence what happened there.
It's an interesting point you make, Al Walid, about the strength of his shots. That is something which seems to be a major issue, that he gets into good striking positions. And we saw that on Friday night. But when he strikes the ball, he either doesn't strike it cleanly or he doesn't hit it with enough power. I mean, the guy's not a kid anymore. He's not a 17, 18-year-old who's got a bit of growing to do. He's an adult man. And essentially, he's a professional footballer who's had more than one club. And for me, that isn't something that you can teach, is it? You've played football, not at the highest level, Al Walid. I've played football, but if you can't kick a football properly, that's not really something you can teach, is it?
Yeah, you're right, but he have to do something about it. He's actually he's good in air. I see in air. Aero fight, when he assists the first goal, it was a throw ball, I think, and he controlled and dribbled the ball in air before he give it to Wilson. The shot in second goal, it was weak shot, but we get lucky it hit the defensive player. But I think he can work on it. He can shoot more strongly. But the position, he didn't position while he's shooting. It was wrong. Maybe maybe he's afraid. He have no confidence in shoot. Maybe he was thinking, should I shoot or no? Should I wait? This thinking sometimes affect the shooting itself. When we noticed when he did initiative, he came with a throw with the ball. He did initiative. For forward position, he did something, and I hope to see that more often.
Okay, good points, Al Walid. Pete, the happiest man on the live feed the other night when we got that goal against Crystal Palace. I did watch that last 15 minutes back, and it was so funny because none of us expected it. And I think the thing that made it funnier was that Daz was about 30 seconds ahead of everybody else. So of course he went go just as you and I were both condemning Newcastle to probably losing the game by 1 goal. Daz goes go like one of those Brazilian commentators, and we were all like, whoa! I had to dust the cobwebs off me rattle, but happy days. Yeah, it was good. But
sorry, just on that, Steve, I was actually holding back because my wife and my little boy were upstairs asleep, so I would have really let fly if I could.
So yeah, Peter was great. It was great to see. Obviously, Joelinton got the second goal, which was great. 2-0, great win, and everyone's happy. But yeah, we're talking about Joelinton. I mean, in your mind, has he turned the corner?
Look, if you look at sort of his performances so far this season, he's probably, and there's not been many, but he's probably put better performances in this season than he had in the whole of last season. So if you can see that as progress, that's progress. He scored just as many goals this season as he did last season, in the whole of last season, if you include the cups, obviously. So in a short period of time, you're seeing sort of, better performances and more goals from him. Although it's not many, look, we're picking out little things here to try and turn it into as much a positive as possible. Ultimately, has he turned the corner? No, not yet. Now, the first time that he's played in this sort of position on a sort of regular basis for a few games now, and it's a position that seems to be working. It's the first time really him and Callum Wilson have really had that sort of opportunity to play together. So we can't just say automatically that it's all roses and this is how it's going to be all the time. It's not. We're going to play against opposition that are going to be better defensively and are going to cause us more problems, and it's whether they can adapt and evolve, and he can adapt and evolve to that position to be able to produce his best. But I'm not going to be sort of like ultimately negative by saying no, we're not going to see it. You know, it's what like it's something that he needs to work on. In that, ultimately, you know, these next 4 or 5 games could tell us really whether he has turned the corner, but not yet.
Okay, I mean, his goal the other night, was slightly fortuitous. I mean, he got through and, he hit it in the direction of the goal, took a big deflection off the defender and trickled across the line. But just what I was saying to Al-Walid there about the strength of his shots, Pete, I mean, it is a bit concerning, isn't it, that he's got what could be described, I suppose, as a bit of a powder puff shot. If you
look at his makeup, I've always noticed, and a lot of people have noticed as well, in the pictures, like the veins that are pumping out of his, I think it's one of his legs. It's on his right leg, which is his shooting leg, and you think he must have some power in that leg if he's got those veins absolutely pumping. But yet you see the power in his shot. It reminds me of like sort of a young 18-year-old just coming through the team that's sort of deer in the headlights when he gets in front of goal. He's got that about him. He just looks like a player that's literally never played at this level before, and it really does come across like that. He doesn't look like a guy, certainly, of a £40 million striker, number 9 for Newcastle. But look, equally, you hear the positives about the players that he plays with when they talk about him in training. I've heard Shelby and Richie and 1 or 2 others before in their interview saying how well he finishes in training and how good his quality is, and it has to be for me a confidence thing. It has to be, because if these guys, you know, they're playing with a quality player up front now in Callum Wilson, who have played with good players before, and they're telling us about how good a quality his finishing is. It purely has to be a confidence issue as to why he's not doing it during a match day. So, it is a worry. The positive is, and the one thing that I took away from Friday, I took a couple of things away actually, for all the sort of negatives I might have been throwing out on the night. One in which he was getting the opportunities. He was finding those positions to get those shots off. There was one where he nicked the ball just before half time and really should have done better. But he was finding those positions. He probably had 5 or 6 opportunities over the course of the game, including the goal, where he actually got himself in that position. And that's the thing, as fans on this show and fans in general have been talking about, the fact that he doesn't get in those positions. And when we want him in the box and we want him in front of goal, he's never there. He was there on Friday. So that's, for me, is a positive. The other positive is obviously the link-up play. The link-up play between him and Callum Wilson. You know what? His performance sort of reminded me, as a partnership, it reminded me of the Callum Wilson, Josh King at Bournemouth. And I think one of the things I took away, and I listened to Callum Wilson's interview on the Newcastle website, and he talked about how he's been talking to Joelinton and talking him through his game and what he wants him to do and how he wants him to play. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if he's trying to mould him alongside that Josh King type mentality, because those two work really well together as a front two, and they complemented each other. And his performance on Friday reminded me a little bit of that. And if we could harness even 20-25% of that, you know, he would drastically improve as a player.
Yeah, okay, good points. Plenty of people commenting on this today. Colin Wilson says it was his best performance to date, but come on, it wasn't a performance to rant and rave about. He is not a Premiership player, and he never will be. Ryan Sweeney says everyone talking about Joelinton, but he missed loads of chances, was lucky with a good goal assist and work rate, but he's not a striker. Plenty of people obviously saying that, and lots of people pointing in the chat towards his assist. Paul Gibson just says good assist though, Ward Joe. Kassam says I just can't see it. I can't see why people defend Joelinton. Ginger Hoskins, you need to watch back on Friday's game. I did give my opinion. John Justice Allen says, Joelinton has all the attributes. Height, very athletic. What he needs is coach to improve his shooting and his mental approach. Surely if you have a £40 million asset, you look to improve it. Ginger Hoskins says, Ray Sweeney, did you watch the match? The defender put it in for him. Yes, well, that's what we did mention a little bit earlier. Jay Welsh says, didn't Steve Bruce say last season Joelinton was not a striker? Yeah. Yano says, Joelinton's been unfairly criticised. He's played well in a number of games. No, he's not a number 9. He's not worth 40 million, but that's the club's fault, not his. I really like him, and there's still more to come. And Tour de Force says, I think he's turned a corner in the sense that he can be an effective player for us, but does he have the ability to score goals or learn to score goals? Only time will tell. Martin, plenty of comment on this, plenty of people got opinions, all different opinions as well. What's your take? Has he turned a corner, Joelinton?
I wouldn't say he's turned a corner, but I suppose you spoke on some of the stats there before where he's been. I think if you look purely on a stats basis, if Andre was here, he'd be spinning the stats out to save the world. He's not prolific. That's fact. Right, look at any of the clubs. The most he had, as you said, was when he was on loan at Rapid Vienna. I think he scored 15. So that was over 2 seasons. So on an average, he's scoring 6 or 7 a season. It was roughly the same at Hoffenheim. So he's not a 20 a season man. Never has been. Probably never will be. But I suppose one of the things for me is people are going, he hasn't turned a corner. He got a fair bit of stick on his own Instagram, I think, over the weekend from people giving him a bit of grief, which I don't agree with. I don't, look. No. But I suppose one of the questions I've got is, as a fan base, why are we giving Joelinton crap, but we didn't do it to Almiron? Now, for me, there's a difference. Almiron worked his socks off when the goal eventually came. He worked, he ran, he tried, he, was unlucky, he scuffed shots, he put them over the bar. Difference for me, the only difference between the two players at the moment is that Joelinton, in the first season, didn't put in the work rate at all. He didn't put in the effort, he didn't run channels, he didn't get into positioning, he didn't give his heart and soul to the 90 minutes he was out on the pitch. So I think he lost a lot of the fan base because we maybe deemed him as lazy. And then we looked at the price tag and lumped that on and gone, God, what a waste, 40 million. This season, is he going to be prolific? No, he's not. Is he going to be a 20-goal man alongside Wilson? No, he's not. But I think he's got something in him. I think when we switch to a 4-4-2 as opposed to a 5-2-3-1 and leave him isolated, he looks a different player. He played with Wilson in the cup game at Morecambe, and I thought he played really well. I think I made a comment on this show. I liked the look of him and Wilson together. I like Joelinton as Daz said, a kind of 7 or a 10, just in behind Wilson, playing off him with a little bit less pressure. The blindside pass on Friday night into Wilson, if that was an Almiron or a Shelby or somebody else, we as a fan base, we would have been loading that up. We would have been going, that's a cracking pass. What a man. Top class, world class. But Joelinton got no credit for it. And I just think, okay, he's not put in that effort. But I think this season he started to run better channels. As a 4-4-2, I think he is a lot more effective. Is he a 40 million player? No, he's not. But he didn't put that price tag on him. The club did. We bought whatever we done. I'm sure the usual deal for Charnley. We get humped on a deal for 40 million, including wages, whatever it is. Anybody that, I suppose, in a good scouting system, we can pick up those stats off Wikipedia. So one of the questions I would have is, if we looked at the lad initially and we were scouting him, who the hell was looking at the statistics and going, he's a 40 million striker? Because it was absolute madness and clear to see that he's not a 40 million striker. But, I think, Steve, you gave him 10 games to start the season. I think he's got hope. I think he's with the wrong coaching team. I think if he was with a good strike coach or a striking coach, You know, for me, coach, if I could think of a player I would love as a striking coach, or somebody that could teach a younger striker the game, somebody for me would be like Teddy Sheringham. Terry Sheringham was a great striker, but at a point when he finished out his career at Man United, he lost his legs. He didn't have the pace, he didn't have the legs to get in behind the defense. But what he did have was he had a very cute brain, and he was able to play a pass, or he was able to get people into the positions to be able to get them in the right places to score goals. And I think that's all we need with Joelinton. I mean, if he keeps putting in the effort, I would leave it as the 4-4-2. I think we looked a lot better as a team on Friday night than we did the week prior. 4-4-2, I think, is more effective. I think Joelinton and Wilson playing as a 2 possibly has something there. I think we've got scope to work with him, but I think the current coaching team that we have will hamper that until maybe that changes. But I would leave him with Wilson. I think there's something there. I think there could be a little partnership there, but it's got to be left intact and it's got to be worked on. But I think it's wrong to slate the kid. No, okay, he needs to work on stuff, but I think there's something there. That's my opinion on it.
Okay, plenty, as I say, plenty of comments coming in. Phil Carty agrees. He says, I think there's something there. Not a number 9 for sure, but he lacks confidence in any flick or deflected goal to give him some confidence. Can't but help him. Joe Walker says his assist was tremendous. Paul just says, I thought Richie was excellent when he came on. Natural leader. And Yano says, if you sign Messi and play him in goal, are you surprised when he plays poorly? Joe reminds us of the strike at Spurs. It has to be a confidence thing. John says, I personally think his poor finishing is a lack of confidence, not a lack of ability. Remember the finish in the cup game. It was top draw. 2 out of 4 says he's a professional footballer. Of course he can kick it properly. His shooting reeks of a mental issue. Paul Gibson says 10 out of 10 for Wilson playing with that rubbish, but still hitting the back of the net. Ginger Hoskins says, thing you got to remember is he's never been a 20 plus striker in an easy league, so coming here as a bang average player. Good point. Rohan says Wilson is so good at holding the ball. Stu says afternoon all, hope everyone's good. I was happy with the 3 points, but the performance was below par, although slightly better than the game. Was still pretty hard to watch until the last 5 minutes. Jay says Callum Wilson is a class act. Ginger Hoskins says, have you seen Wilson is coaching him in the game? Well, yeah, I mean, he can learn off other players, I suppose. A 2 out of 4 again says his shooting and finishing is so bad that it's harder to do what he does than it is to score. It's all in the head with Joe. A goal here or there won't change that. Time and proper coaching might though. Merseyside Magpie says, I did like that 2 up top with Wilson and Joelinton. It just offers a bit more. Lascelles being injured and unable to play was the big difference. Joe behind Callum with ASM and Fraser in the side will frighten a lot of the team. So, I suppose my question, Chris, now is, and I mean, Martin's touched on it a little bit, is, and some people have mentioned it in the chat, is a striking coach the answer, or is it a psychologist, like somebody to get into the to the mental side of Joelinton? And it sounds like a lot of people feel it could just be a confidence thing. I've got to be perfectly honest. Watching him last season, it was just a sheer lack of effort that annoyed me more than anything else. And I jokingly said on more than one occasion when I used to do these shows just with Malcolm and Gibbo last year that the thing that really annoyed us was that his strip's probably the only one last season that had never been washed, because he couldn't have sweated. He just wasn't running around. That was what wound me up about him last season. Not the fact that he wasn't scoring goals, etc., although that was a part of it, but it was just a sheer lack of effort. So the question really this time round is, what's going to benefit him, to help him become a better player?
Yeah, I think some of the lads hit on the key thing, which I think is his partnership with Wilson. Wilson seems to be doing a good job with him in terms of giving him that coaching on the pitch in the match. Because I think it's probably one thing maybe for him to be given in like tactical instruction in a scrimmage or a practice, but he needs that in-game experience to really put the lessons into practice. So I think that if you can continue on with Wilson giving him the tips and instruction in the match, playing alongside him, it'll do. If there's anything there, Wilson he's probably going to be the best coach for him. I don't know. You could bring in some Sheringham or outside. That would be an intriguing possibility, but I think the most improvement is going to come in the match with playing alongside someone like Wilson, who seems to be a perfect strike partner for him. Someone who does seem to have a lot of heart and passion, and really has in his first year, his first matches with the team, has really become the leader of the club. And some of them have talked about him being the real captain. Give him the captain's armband. He's sort of a de facto captain on the pitch. Like a real leader of men, but also someone who really gets it, and has compassion and sort of can feel when other people are down, and sort of puts a shoulder around him in a much different way than we've criticized Steve Bruce for being the shoulder around the lad kind of guy. I think Callum Wilson really gets it, and really can kind of sense the heartbeat of the team, the pulse of the team, to really pick guys up when they're down, or to encourage them when they've done well. So I think Wilson is the best coach that we can have for Joelinton at this time.
Okay, Chris, cheers. Big shout out to newworkwear.com, specialists in the supply and branding of clothing for the workplace. And there's a fight on between Chris and Daz to put the helmet on, and they've combined heads. It's like, that was dear me, that was I'll be having nightmares about that, lads. qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables. They are based in Wallsend in Newcastle. They make other things as well as the t-shirts, which we sell. NUFC Matters t-shirts, as modelled by Spenny today. He's got his on. NewcastleLegends.com. Get your t-shirts on there. We've also been doing some t-shirts available for the food bank. If you go onto my Twitter at Steve Wraith, you can still bid on the latest t-shirt, which of course is a homage to young Katie and her swear jar. It's Ladies Night t-shirt. It's a one-off. Bid on my post at Steve Wraith. It's pinned at the top, and all proceeds of that go to the food bank. Talking of the food bank, the Christmas do unfortunately has to be put back. I've emailed everybody who bought tickets. We can't give you a date for the rearranged Christmas do, unfortunately, because Boris Johnson has obviously got England on a lockdown. We're not even sure what is going to happen for Christmas yet, but one thing we are sure is the event will go ahead. I'm pleased to say that of the people who have contacted so far, most people have said just donate the money to the food bank, and I'll actually pay again to come to the event whenever you can arrange it, which is a fantastic gesture from a lot of people. Those of you who haven't read the email, do check. It'll be the email that's associated with your PayPal account, as that's how you paid. So please check the email, please reply to me and let me know what you want to do. But I would like to donate the money that you've sent to the food bank, and obviously your tickets will still be valid moving forward whenever the event goes ahead. But I would predict it's going to be in the new year, and if I was a betting man, I'd say it was going to be nearer spring than nearer the new year celebrations. So we will of course keep you updated on the show. We do have a private chat as we're talking, and I have been watching this with interest. Before we came on it, Manchester United were 2-0 down at Southampton at half time. For those of you who aren't watching it, the goalkeeper at Man United, De Gea, was substituted. Not really anything to do with his form, I don't think. He seemed to collide with the post when he conceded the free kick to put Southampton 2-0 up. But Man United have rallied and they are back in the game. It is now 2-2, and Cavani got the equaliser after Fernandes had pulled one back. So currently 2-2. I'm sure the lads will update us in the next 20 minutes if there's any more action in that game. So Daz, Chris thinks that Wilson is the best person to help get Joelinton, get the best out of Joelinton. What do you think? Are you thinking, maybe he's getting an Alan Shearer to come in and spend a few days with him? Or are you thinking a psychologist who can maybe get him over his problems? Or do you just think he's been lazy? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, if the likes of Alan Shearer would come, he'd be back already. He'd come for Bruce, but he's not going to come anywhere near when Ashley's in. He's not going to ruin his rep anymore with Ashley still in the picture. I don't think Joelinton speaks much English, I wonder would someone that speaks a bit of Portuguese help him in some fashion if they got in another coach? And when we were talking about Joelinton and the power in his shots, I'd throw Miggy in there as well. He runs all over the place, and he by the time he gets to shoot, he's out of energy, and the power is weak as well. But someone to work with all the strikers really, and then I get, like, I suppose in all walks of life, the kind of on the job training. Yeah, Wilson would help, and Carroll as well. He's kind of in the same kind of mold as Joelinton. He's a big lad. He hold up the ball, where to play it. I don't know what kind of relationship they have off the pitch. I know Carl is pretty friendly with the likes of Shelby and Richie and Gale and stuff. But I'm sure he has been learning something off Carl as well. And maybe that's why we've seen a bit of an improvement in this year already. We'll give Carl a bit of credit then if that's the case, because I'm giving Harper credit for the likes of Darlow playing well this season. So I think I'd rather see someone external come in than the players that are there, and to work with all the strikers really, not just Joelinton. It would benefit them all, I think. So someone external for me, and would probably have to work with Bruce as well, obviously, but just someone focused on the attacking, really.
Okay, Daz Cheer, Sean Sturrock says, be interesting to see how long Joelinton lasts in the front two once Dwight Gale is match fit. Mikey says, I've been guilty of slating him and he's been poor, but to be fair to the lad, he didn't ask for the number 9 shirt. He comes from a totally different game of football, and he's got Steve Bruce as coach. Dave says, Palace game was arguably Joelinton's best game so far this season, but he would still have difficulty getting into most Premier League teams. Chippers says, only time Joelinton broke sweat last season was when he was subbed. And John Askew says, does anyone think there are a few unnecessary snouts in the trough on transfer deals? Of course, mate. That's what it's all about. Agents. At one time, I don't think it's as much as case now, but they were running football. Brian says he played much better, but he still can't shoot properly. And Fungo says, is that the case? We need Joelinton to be like a Van Nistelrooy or Lineker, but where he's a fox in the box, 1 or 2 touches striker, touch and finish. But to do that, we need balls in the box. And Dave again says, Joelinton looks like someone who didn't start playing football until he was in his mid-teens. Some basic skills are missing. Good points. Spenny, what does he need then? Does he need a coach? Does he need to learn from his teammates? Does he need a little bit of a bit of psychology maybe to get him over his issues? What does he need?
I'm sorry, but I'm going to disagree with everybody. End of the day, he's being bought and he's getting wages every week. He's had over a season to play, and he's still not playing like a footballer. I'm sorry, but he's playing for my team, Newcastle. And if he's not coming up the grads, you get rid. Simple as. As for coaching, the only way he's going to get coached is if the coaching team gets rid of and gets new coaching staff in. That might help him, yes. But as far as I can't see him a footballing at all. You can blame psychology and all this crap if you want to, but like I said, he's not a footballer. I'm sorry, I've been going to watch Newcastle play 40 years now. I've seen the likes of Billy White there a lot. They were crap. And he's on that par, I'm sorry. That's my opinion anyway.
He's beyond help then, Spenny. Is that your view?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, okay, mate. No problem. Gary Douglas, yes, there is plans to get Clarkey and a few of the ex-players back on, but it has to be as and when they're available with the football season on. Things are quite hectic, and people do seem to like the shows that we're doing at the moment, but don't worry, mate. Yes, they will be back on at some point. Al-Walid, what can we do? And I just realised you've got your T-shirt on as well. I couldn't see it there, mate. Well done. All the way to Saudi. Fantastic. All the way to Saudi then, Al-Walid.
Yes, yeah.
How long did it take to get there? About 4 weeks.
Actually, I am very bad in online thing. I just make my wife.
Okay.
She ordered it for me.
Joelinton then.
I think.
What can we do to help him?
Well, he was happily cry after the game, so I think he cared. I should say 70. I blame it. Okay, if I say it in percentage, 70%, it's coach issue regarding Steve Bruce tactic and formation, because we see Almiron not in his best. We see his performance in Paraguay way much better than in Newcastle. So Fraser as well. He take I think best player in Scotland. So I'm sure it's coach issue. 70% I would blame Steve Bruce. That's lead to 20%. I think increase in percentage 20 for the confidence thing, because if I am not in the right position, because he's not. I'm not saying defending Joelinton that he's. And he have some skills. He have some good point, but it needs a better coach to realize how to use this skill in the player. So what's left then? 10%. That's different from player to player. If in my, let's say, I would a little bit go any different. If I say to myself, I have to have many supervisors, and let's say the supervisor is the coach. So I have myself many supervisors, and it's really affect the person when they. Sometimes you have a supervisor who understand. He can put you in right place. He can make you bring the best you have, and some supervisor make you feel less in confidence, make you not doing better. Make you one of the worst workers. So I think I can say blame most of what happened to Joelinton for on coach level. But the good thing that we see, I'm not saying it's right decision by Steve Ross, but he keep Joelinton on the field. He know that he can do better. I'm pursuing. This is the only good thing in Steve Bruce. I hope Steve Bruce, I said earlier, he discovered something regarding positioning Joelinton.
Okay, good stuff. Life Goal says, could happily listen to Al Walid analyse all day. A totally fresh view of the game. Should be a Saudi correspondent for the club, measured and articulate. Well, you never know. Once the takeover goes through, we may well get that job. Life Goals also says, would you ever be able to get that female Newcastle United football player onto your ladies' night? She's an England international, born in Newcastle, but plays for someone like Chelsea. Big Toon fan. Don't know about that. I did make some inquiries at the start of the summer to get some female footballers on from the club to try and give them some promotion, but unfortunately it was a no. They're not allowed to do anything outside the club, certainly nothing to do with fans. So we did try. Big supporter of the female game, to be honest, and would love to have one of the Newcastle female football players on, but I'm sure that might happen at some point one day, maybe when we get new owners. Pete, how do we change Joelinton then? Do you think do you think a new coach would help him, like a striking coach, or do you agree with some of the people in the chat that maybe this is like a psychological thing? He needs to have a little bit of psychological coaching, mind coaching.
Look, an attacking-minded coach is always a positive thing, and I think that's what we're probably lacking in our coaching staff at the moment. So, look, something like that would always help. But the key for me is the players around him. The players around him are the ones that would make the ultimate difference right now. Now, one of the things that's always been flawed in our transfer policy under Ashley is that we just go and sign players under a certain age, and what that does is that lacks experience. So we've always had these young strikers, but they're not had the experienced head to guide them through. And that was the thing that's always been missing. So the likes of, when we had Rondon played so well as a 30-year-old experienced striker. And then the likes of Jose Perez and Almiron, when they came in, were able to be guided and helped and supported through his sort of wiser head. With Callum Wilson coming in, that for me is the key. And having someone like Dwight Gale in and around him, telling Joelinton where they want him to be, what they want him to do, how he can impact the positivity of our attacking play. Because, he's a very different player to those guys. He's not last man on the shoulders. He's not making those runs into the channels like those guys do. That's where they're so effective in their clinical finishes when they get the opportunity. But they like that sort of player that Joelinton and his qualities possess, like his raw physical ability. He's a tall, big, physical lad. He does cover ground. He does kind of work hard off the ball. One of the things I forgot to say the last time I was asked was one of the things I'd like Andre to find out for us is how many free kicks Joelinton won for us on Friday night, because I noticed there were quite a few. And what he does, he wins free kicks in good positions high up the pitch for us, and that takes pressure off the defenders, but also it gets us playing further up the pitch. And what that does, it takes the emphasis off Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson is the main striker, having to occupy two centre-backs is not what he wants to be doing. But having someone like Joelinton doing that groundwork, doing all the battling, doing the hard graft, allows the flair players, the likes of St. Maximin, the likes of Callum Wilson, the likes of Dwight Gale, to then pick those little pockets in between, find those little gaps where they're not going to be marked because they're too busy being occupied by Joelinton. That's what we need. That's what he needs right now. But that's what we need as a team, right? We've got the flair players, the ones that make the difference. But as you'll see in the past, too many flair players, tends to flaw the actual formation. And we talked about throwing Ryan Fraser, Almir on, St. Maximin, or throwing them all in, getting them all in. But sometimes, actually, you need that player that provides something a little bit different. There is the battering ram, there is the physical one that takes the emphasis of the centre back to allow the likes of Wilson to gain the benefits. And that's what he needs right now. And he's got those experienced guys around him. So he needs the experienced guys to support him. There was a guy earlier who made a comment, I think, to me, Alan Thompson. He said it was the same when I talked about he's not there yet in Joelinton. He said, it was the same for 10 years under Shola Amiobi. And you know what? He's right. But actually, in the early parts of his career, Shola Amiobi played his best football for the club during that early part. Why? Because he had Alan Shearer around him, because he had Patrick Kluivert around him, because he had a fit and firing Craig Bellamy around him. And he had those players that were experienced in playing in Europe and playing and fighting at the top of the table and scoring goals on a regular basis, telling him where to go and what to do. Lamonitras or Loa was exactly the same. They had those older guys that were able to guide them through and give them that experience. And it was no surprise that when Shearer retired, when Kluivert and Bellamy left, that those guys fell apart. And you always need that experienced head. And Martin quite rightly talked about the likes of someone like Teddy Sheringham. Teddy Sheringham had to change his career around and become that battering man, become that guy that picked up the pockets and demanded the two centre-backs. He had to become that type of player because, physically his body changed. Joelinton at the moment is still a young lad. He's not the fastest, but he's got a bit of pace about him. He's big, he's strong. He just needs to be guided on how he can actually impact the game and make a difference. And there's no better people around to do that than experienced players on the pitch.
Okay, good points. Last 5 minutes, just to let you know that Manchester United went 3-2 up. Cavani with another goal. Looks like we've got a bit of Fergie time luck there going on with Manchester United. 2-0 down. Looks as if they've got a 3-2 win there under their belts. Martin, obviously watching that game. Man United pulled it out the bag, haven't they?
Cavani came on with about 15 minutes left. Van de Beek as well. Cavani has just been class. He's, with all due respect, he's everything you'd want a Joelinton to be. He came on, him and Fernandes just clicked. First goal was ahead of the second goal. Was a crossing from Rashford from the left, and just in between the two defenders with a deft flick up the head into the back of the post, and it was just just a class goal. That's the difference. That's a world-class striker in Cavani, but he made Man United look a different team when he came on there. But yeah,
Martin,
so it's all over there now. 3-2 Man United.
Interrupt. The point that I made earlier, Cavani is the complete example of that. Everyone laughed when Man United signed Edison Cavani. I know Cavani quite well. I have to really. My older brother's been a 30 years PSG fan. He's got a season ticket. He goes every week, and I've been lucky enough to go and watch some games with him. I see what Edison Cavani is all about. I've watched him live many a time, and actually, people laughed about it in England. He is a quality striker, and he, without doubt, is guiding the likes of Rashford and Martial, the younger strikers, Greenwood, and telling them where they need to be, what they need to be doing. And it just feeds into the Joelinton point. He needs that type of guy to be able to tell him, right, this is what I want you to do. To be effective, this is where you need to go. The one surprise was Cavani didn't start today with Martial being out. But the point still stands. You need that experienced head, right, to make the difference in your team.
Yeah, I think the thing as well is that the likes of Cavani, the likes of Shearer, the likes of a Wilson, the likes of Harry Kane, some players as a striker, they're just natural. That's the difference. Cavani is a natural. Wilson is a natural. Okay, maybe not at full Premiership level. Dwight Gale is a natural. Mick Quinn was a natural. There are players as strikers who just, and I'm going to keep touting Mick Quinn just because he followed me this morning. I keep saying his name. But I think that's a massive difference. Joelinton's not a natural striker, but I think working with Wilson, now I take Spenny's point, and I'm kind of getting scared of Spenny now because he's got his arms folded. But he's like, at the end of the day, the club are not going to get rid of Joelinton. So he at the minute, because of the wages, Spenny's gone. Sorry, but because of the money, and now I'm really scared. Because of the money,
I think he actually froze. To be honest, so I was watching him for a bit. I think he froze. So maybe he's just had internet problems.
You've not just pissed at me, then that's good. But I think the likes of Wilson does need to work with him. I think you're right. I think Gale working with him. I think Carroll working with him, and saying to him, listen, and I think you make a good point, Pete, that the amount of hold-up, one thing in particular I noticed on Friday I thought was really, really good. I thought that Joelinton's hold-up play was brilliant. I thought he was holding the play, but the problem is we didn't have that midfield movement then around him to get us further up the pitch. And I think that's another area of concern. But I thought his hold-up play would work. I think if we stick with 4-4-2, I think that there's something there. But I take Spenny's point as well, now he's back, that Joelinton also has to work at it, and I think if he continues to do and he puts effort in, I think he'll get people on side. If he doesn't put the effort in like he did in the first season, then I agree with Spenny. He's got to go, but he's probably got what, 3 or 4? I don't know, Pete. You probably know more than me. He's got what left on his contract?
Well, yeah, I think he signed a 6-year deal, so it'll be
6-year deal. So probably what, 80 grand a week on 6 years. So even if you say he's got 5 left, we're never going to get rid of him. So like we've got to work. We've got to try and make him work as best we can, because unless there's a takeover with the money that we're talking about that they want to leave, an 80 grand a week player sitting on the bench, it is what it is. So we need to work with him rather than, disperse, I think, at the minute.
That would be the only way that we do get rid of him, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So
with the takeover, because
we need to work with him.
We're not going to want to take the hit as a club on the 40 million.
Maybe we should send Spenny in to coach him. That might work.
Tell you what, right? My mind goes back to Richie when he got substituted and Joelinton come on instead of him, and his face told it all. Changing me with him.
Yeah, listen, lads, as Colin Wilson says, interesting opinions. His is the same as mine. Look, we had to do it. A lot of people aim criticism at us on social media about our opinions, and it was great to have an hour's chat about them. At least we've put it out there in the open. We've all got different opinions, and that's what makes our support great. We can all get on, but we still have different opinions. That's what people need to realise. And great show, lads. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for agreeing to do it. I am, of course, back tomorrow night, 7:30, with Sav, with Katie, with Kendall, with Samantha, and with Alicia, who's become part of the regular team now. So good to have them on tomorrow night. Don't forget, that's always at the slightly later time, 7:30. Tuesday night, I will be back, of course, with Liam at 6 o'clock. We'll see what exclusives he has that night. On Wednesday, which is the new night for Retro Night, we'll be looking at Everton, Newcastle Everton games throughout the years. Some great stories, no doubt, from the lads on that. And then on Thursday night, it will be back with Supermac and Gibbo, looking ahead to the weekend's game. Don't forget to check out the We Are the Geordies website, wearethegeordies.com. Film kicks off on the 11th of December this year, and if you are feeling generous and want to donate some money to the food bank, then get yourself on newcastlelegends.com and purchase a calendar. Again, all proceeds from the calendar are going to go to the food bank. I must give a quick shout out as well to the guy who's doing these, Jake Vanderveld, contacted me today. Basically, he runs a company which is called Etsy.com. That is ETSY.com. Like everybody else, they have had an absolute nightmare from a company's perspective due to COVID. So what they've done is they've designed these wonderful beer mats. As you can see there, there's a Shearer one, a Pavel Cernacek one, Tino Aspria, Kevin Keegan, Janola and Albert. All different players from the Entertainer era, of course. Limited edition Newcastle United beer mats, 90s legends. And essentially what they're doing is they're giving, after watching our programme and seeing what we're doing for the food bank, they've agreed to give 10% of all profits from these to the food bank as well. There's a limited run of 1,000. And they basically will make great little Christmas gifts. And I think they're only along the lines of, the only thing I'm missing on here is the price, but I think it's $6.99 for the set, if I'm not mistaken. But that is Etsy.com, where you can buy them. So don't miss out. Get yourself on it. Get on quick. They are really good little Christmas gifts. And as I say, 10% going to the food bank. We have been promoting, of course, all month our own campaign, which is Phone a Friend campaign. Call a family member or a friend that you haven't spoken to for a while. It does make a difference. Pick up the phone, speak to somebody, and make their day. Just have a chat. You never know when someone's feeling a bit down throughout this pandemic situation that we're all going through. So please make a difference. Give a friend a phone call just to see how they are doing. Been an absolute pleasure. Chris, Daz, Martin, Spenny, Al Walid and Pete, great to have you on, lads. Look forward to speaking to you later in the week. Take care, lads.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.